What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
And I'm Ant.
Anthony's here.
Hi.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, sir. Thanks for having me back. It is good to be back.
It's great to have you back. It's been, I don't even know how long it's been.
It's been a while.
I think it has. I've seen you a lot more recently, though.
Of course.
Because we've been having some last-minute gaming every now and then, which has been really good. Well, how have you guys been this week?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Nice input there, James. Nice. You come from work again?
No, but I am fighting a really bad headache, which I've had since about lunchtime.
Oh, excellent. So what we got to do today, Ant, is make lots of noise. I've been told that that's what's good for a headache.
Oh, okay.
So as long as it's not my headache.
Some heavy dance music or something, that would help quite a bit, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I've been nice to you, James, because you haven't had headphones on, so you didn't have to hear the music.
I didn't. I'm actually quite glad of that right now.
No, I've missed my trick now, and I should have done it, but then cranked the volume on his headphones.
Just on his headphones.
Yeah, that would have been great.
It's good that you care for your co-host.
I do. I'm a fellow DJ, as we were taking the mickey out of us.
Just literally just out, yeah.
But no. So how have you been, Ant? Because I don't usually get to ask you.
No, I've been good, mate. Like I said, we've been meeting up quite a bit. We've been playing a few things that I've not played, you've not played, James hasn't played. So it's been good. Been good.
Really hitting both of our shelves of shame, which has been really good. And also some new games. We got a brand new game to the table just last night.
We did, yeah, we did.
Which was Steam Up.
Steam Up.
Which,
for some reason, I keep calling it Dim Sum Up.
It's about dim sum, isn't
exactly,
it? So I guess it's fair. But I was really regretting not backing that game initially, and now we've played it, I'm really regretting not backing that game.
Well, hopefully we'll get some UK Expo.
Oh yeah,
maybe someday you can grab a copy.
I really hope they bring the deluxe copies,
or just say you want to borrow mine and we can keep playing it. I don't mind.
Well, obviously, this is one of the handy things about you living just around the corner.
This is it, right? Exactly.
So, James, what did you think of Dim Sum Up?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It sounds better calling it Dim Sum Up, right?
I can't. I was about to say, let's call out the publisher of that. But I can't actually remember. It's a Hot Banana Games?
Hot Banana Games, yeah.
Oh, look at that. I'm on form without any notes.
Nothing on in front of him.
Anyway, James, Dim Sum Up.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, it made even better by the fact that I almost pipped you to the victory right at the end.
You did?
Almost.
But
Jason did screw me over with the food token.
I did.
At the last frigging turn.
I mean, I've had that whole game thinking, do you know what this game needs? It needs just a little bit more take that. And then right as we came towards the end of the game, I picked up a card which was dump 2 of my tokens on someone else, which, for those that don't know, if you've got tokens left at the end of the game, you lose points.
That's right, yeah.
So it was like, well, we're coming to the end of the game. I like a bit of take that. Ant was actually right behind me, hot on my heels.
I was the threat, wasn't I?
You were the threat. So I dumped it on you, completely forgetting that James actually has half a brain cell. And he actually
caught up quite right at the end as well, though, to be honest.
I was all in that last steamer, and I was like, I might actually be able to pip you if you don't choose me as the target.
Yeah.
And what was the final score between the two of you? 2 points difference?
2 points.
You were 37, I was 39.
Yeah, something like that. But I was about 8-9 points behind at the point you were making that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I didn't think to really go for you. So, yeah. Really
You're
interesting
usually
game.
better at reading the table than that.
I was, but I was more focused on the fact that someone was genuinely quite close to me. And if I hadn't have played it genuinely, you probably would have been up there with me and James. And I reckon there would have been 1, maybe 2 points in it between all of us.
If James would stop rotating the table, I might actually have a chance next time, but we'll see.
I had to make that educated decision, though, didn't I? Because I had to rotate the table.
Yep.
So that you could get that steamer to stop Ant from getting it. Because if Ant had got it, he would have won. 100%.
He would have won. But how quickly, be honest, how quickly did you do the maths when I started my turn and you went, oh, wait a minute?
Yeah, exactly. But really, really impressed. Very fun game to play.
It was fun. It was the first time I played it with you guys.
Yeah.
Or full stop was the first time I played it. So we all played it for the first time last night.
Yeah,
so.
I think there was many things learned during the game, and I look forward to playing it again.
Yeah. I look forward to the review as well.
We'll definitely have to get that played enough so that we can review it. And I mean, spoiler alert, I want to buy it. So I guess that's the collection
It's higher than
status
Meeple track
part at the
already.
end.
Yeah. To see when he loses a couple of games, see if he still likes it, right?
This is true. This is very true. Again, I've got a 100% record on that game, so might be time to retire from that one.
Oh, okay.
This is the problem. Is like, as soon as you win a game, like if you're first time playing it and you win the game, you kind of never want to play it again because you've got 100%.
I don't know. We played Dice Hospital last night. I quite enjoyed it, and I won it.
Well,
I'd like to play it again, but I'd like to play it again.
So that was your first time playing Dice Hospital?
That was first time playing Dice Hospital.
How did you find that? Because I was recently on your episode talking about workplace games, and that was on my top 5.
It was, and I can see why it was on the top 5. It took me a couple rounds to get used to it, but like every game you start off with, it takes a couple rounds. And I appreciate the fact you guys watched over, make sure I was doing the stuff right. But then once I got into that, it was quite a case of the card you gave me. I was quite lucky to have that as the upgrade to win more points.
Yeah.
And no, I really did enjoy it. I loved it was the first time I played a hospital themed board game as well.
Yeah.
Back in the days when I used to play Meeple Hospital, so it took back a lot of memories. Really liked it. I would love to play that again and give that another go.
I think
at some point.
Like hospital themed games are, I mean, I know there's a few coming from Kickstarter over the next sort of year and a half, because I've backed a couple of them, but it's kind of one of those themes you haven't really seen that many, have we?
No.
And it kind of screams a great thing. I can imagine a really heavyweight Euro type game.
Yeah,
well,
sorry, James.
Sorry, that's my one takeaway from Dice Hospital is I enjoy it, but after playing it a few times, it's like I want a game with this theme that's just a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, because there's one that's been out for a while. I think you should know it, Jason. Rush MD.
Rush MD, yeah.
One is looked quite intriguing to do. Like you actually get to do the operating in that, don't you?
Yeah.
But apparently it's quite hard to get hold of that game.
Yeah, so I've heard. I mean, I've not played it.
No.
I've looked into it a couple of times, and if I remember correctly, it's a real time sort of. You're going against time, which I don't usually like in a game. I played Kitchen Rush and absolutely detested it.
Oh, really?
But that's purely me. It's because I just don't like being under a timer. If I have no problem taking my turn quickly, but when that extra pressure is there of seeing a sand timer ticking down, I don't know what I'm doing, and I just stop. So that's probably why I don't own any games like that. Actually, I suppose you could say Project Elite kind of has a bit of that.
Yeah, more of a timer on that one though, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's kind of a cooperative. We're going to screw it up.
I think the difference is with games like Project Elite, you get the planning phase first, where you can actually talk about what you want to do.
Yeah.
The only time constraint is literally rolling the dice.
Yeah.
So you get that element of, right, you're going to do this, you're going to work towards this, I'm going to work towards this, you're going to work towards that. Right, we all know what we're doing. Go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Speaking of that game, I do really want to play that again at some point.
I've got literally all the add-ons which still haven't been touched yet, so we need to get on that at some point.
One of the games, again, I don't think we've even done a game highlight episode for that. I know we talked about it.
Yep.
But I don't think we ever got round to doing it.
But I think it's been long enough now that we need to replay it again so that we know what we need to talk about, because we've forgotten half of it.
Yep.
Shame.
Yeah. Really upset we're going to have to play that game again. But yes. Anyway, talking of the fact that I've been on your podcast recently, talking about our top 5 worker placement games, and the fact that we've now played Dice Hospital, which was one of mine. One of the ones that was on your top 5 is actually the game that we're going to be talking about today.
Actual episode, yes.
Yes. So shall we crack on and start our discussion about this game?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okie dokie, guys. So the game we are talking about today is Fallout Shelter, the board game. Fallout Shelter, the board game, is a worker placement game released by Fantasy Flight Games in 2020. It is capable of having between 2 and 4 players aged 14 and up, with a listed playtime of 60 to 90 minutes. And at the time of recording, you can pick this game up for around £30. In Fallout Shelter, the board game, players must keep their vault dwellers safe, productive, and most importantly, happy, as you survive under 2,000 feet of bedrock. Compete with the other players to see who can inspire the most happiness and be elected the brand new overseer.
Nice.
That is a rough idea of what the hell this game is.
Mm-hmm.
But James, what comes in the box when you buy Fallout Shelter, the board game?
Contained within the quote-unquote box, you get 30 room cards, 5 elevator cards, 31 item cards, 18 threat cards, 2 dice, 4 resource trackers, 72 resource cubes, 28 dweller figures, 42 happiness tokens, and a first player token.
Excellent stuff. I feel really bad because Ant hasn't got anything to do in this.
I bet it took you hard to say not lunchbox, but box on that.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. This is not a box, is it?
It's a tin.
It's a tin.
Tin, even.
It is sort of a lunchbox tin style game boxy thing. But it does have a box insert.
It's even got the fake handle on the side.
Has it? Oh, it really does. I never saw that. That's awesome. Okay, first things first. Fantasy Flight. Why is there not an actual handle on this tin?
True.
I mean, would it have cost that much? Really? Because it is basically...
Probably would have been 35 instead of 30, but...
Well, yeah.
£5 for a handle.
So, obviously, this is your game.
Yeah.
And, first off, when did you get it? Was this one that you bought brand new when it first came out? Or?
No, I got it in 2021, so just coming out of COVID it was.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
Which is the only time I figured it out that it was actually available. The guys at Board Stupid have the proper version of Fallout by Fantasy Flight Games. Never played it, still haven't played to this day. But being a Fallout fan and worker placement, I heard that this was out and just thought, give it a go.
Yeah, why not?
It's, cheap and it's practically in a travel case. You can go anywhere with you.
Yeah.
So
nice.
What's not to like about it?
Do you remember how much you paid for it when you
I
bought
believe it was $28.99 at the time.
Okay, so you actually got it cheaper than what it is at the
a little
moment.
bit just under, yeah.
Cool. So I'm guessing it's obviously holding its value at the moment because it's now quite an old game. There wasn't many places that were still selling it, but I think it was Amazon where I saw it the cheapest, which was £32. Other than the second-hand market, obviously there was a fair few of those. But let's talk about the theme because first and foremost, I'm not really a huge digital gamer. I know of Fallout,
sure,
and what the rough premise of it is. But when I was doing a little bit of research for this, Fallout and Fallout Shelter are two different things. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're obviously far more of a digital gamer than me. What is the difference?
So Fallout is an actual series. There are separate. So essentially, Fallout is an RPG role-playing game. So it's longer, it's bigger, and whereas Fallout Shelter is just simply a basic game, which is free to download, by the way, on Steam, iPhones, iPlay Store, whatever you want to do, which is essentially just to build a shelter, like in the actual Fallout games. So it's kind of like a standalone one. There are a couple other standalones from the main games, but this is kind of like just a free downloadable game that they've done. And then it got quite a big fan base to it because it's a free game that they thought, well, we can actually make a board game out of this.
Yeah.
Now, I own the game. I've never really played it much, but as the board game alone, I find more better to play than the actual app itself or the game itself, really.
So, I mean, the next logical question, I think, would be, is it a good representation of the digital game? But the fact that you're saying it's better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously the game's better because it's all animated and how the characters all get the happiness and lose happiness is fantastic. But this is a good representative of the game.
Okay.
When we go into a bit more detail in a minute, I'll explain a bit more when it comes towards that with threat cards and upgrades and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Cool. So, James, are you familiar with Fallout or Fallout Shelter?
No, I'm in the same boat as you. I've never played any of the games. I didn't even know that there was an app-based game of this.
No, neither did I.
Yeah, I mean...
I knew it was a game of sorts.
Again, going back to the game, like you just said, I've not long recently got into it myself. Okay. Again, some of the guys from Board Stupid, hello Simon if you're listening, is massively into Fallout. He's been playing this since it's been out. I've never had the time to play big games like Fallout up until obviously when we had COVID. I had plenty of time to play it. That's when I've kind of got into it. So I've only just recently got into Fallout. I love the series and I just felt this was a better, friendlier game to play than the other game that Fantasy Flight has released.
Right.
Apparently that's a bit more difficult to play, a little bit more technical, whereas this is just a simply nice little carry case worker placement for everyone to give a try, regardless of the theme it is, really.
Yeah. So obviously I've not played the other Fallout board game
me
either.
neither.
That one, to my knowledge, is based on the normal was it
The actual
RPG
series,
version of the game. Okay, cool. So it'd be interesting to try that one at some point because I have enjoyed playing this game. But before we give our opinions on that, let's talk about the components because I think there's a fair bit to talk about. First off, it does come in a tin that is clear, obviously meant to look like a lunchbox. Is that thematic?
Yeah,
I guess for the actual thing.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty good then. But other than that, Ant, it's your game. What do you think about the components? Anything stand out to you that's either good or bad?
Definitely the dwellers themselves, I think, are the standout piece. Because again, if you're familiar with the game itself, they are Vault Boys, and in the game there are a different type of Vault Boy for everything. They're kind of like in the original game, they're like an upgrade system. You have one which is strength, so he's got his arms up like a muscle man.
Yeah.
The other guy is intelligent, so he's dressed like a teacher, and so on and so forth. And the dwellers in this kind of represent that. As we'll talk about later on, you can train your dwellers to be better versions of themselves. So I think the dwellers alone is what stand out. Yeah. And possibly some of the see-through cards, I believe we'll talk about in a sec as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I kind of like that aspect.
So, I mean, the dwellers 100%. They're 15mm miniatures, really, and the detail on these is superb. Like compared to normal board game miniatures, which are usually 28 to 32mm scale, there's a lot of detail on these.
Yeah, I'm glad they haven't done the typical wooden meeple thing. I love the fact that they're actually the Vault Boys from the game.
Yeah.
Because again, goes well with the actual theme of the game really well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think another thing I would, before I move on from the dwellers, is you get 7 of them as your workers, but they're all different.
Yes.
They're all different sculpts, which they did not have to do.
Exactly.
They could have easily just done one sculpt and, a different sculpt for each team. But no, every single one of them is different, which is really, really good. Very distinct colours as well. It's nice to see different colours of players. You've got blue, yellow, white, and brown. Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, so obviously the blue and yellow you can tell because they're the colour for the Vault.
Of course.
The Vault suits. The brown kind of represents the wasteland itself because that's what the game is sent. It's like a barren wasteland sort of thing. The white, however, I can't explain that part of it, but...
Dwellers, for me, they are probably the standout piece, or pieces, in the game. And I was also going to bring up about certain cards, what are they? I call them monster cards.
The threat cards, the threat deck.
Cards. So the threat cards, they are plastic cards, but they are, other than the print that's on them, they are transparent.
That's right, yeah.
And they are placed over the artwork cards, so you can actually see the artwork behind the threat.
Yeah.
That is a really nice touch. So they've got a huge thumbs up for me on those.
Again, because it's just been normal cards, you would have had the same effect, but the fact that it blends in well with the part of the shelter you built, I'm sure we'll explain in a sec, but just nice little detail for something under 30 quid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. James, what about you? What's your standout parts to this component list?
Echoing what you guys have said about the sculpts on the figures and the see-through cards, which is both nice. I think it's, like you said, the fact that they've actually used the character from the game. Yeah. And I'll say this, I said in the intro, it's like, I've never played the Fallout games, I don't know what they're about. Yeah. I know that character from the media.
It's very iconic, isn't it? Yeah.
I know that character is connected to Fallout, so the fact that they've sculpted all the figures to look like it.
Exactly.
Like, even if I hadn't seen the tin, I'd go, this is a Fallout game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like seeing a Superman symbol. It's iconic, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is. But I also quite like the resource trackers because they're nicely organised.
Yes.
It's a little bit of punchboard with some cutouts, but it serves its purpose really well.
Definitely.
Yeah, because obviously your resources in the game are represented by cubes. I mean, the cubes aren't anything to shout home about. They're standard board game cubes. Yeah. But they slot nicely into those boards. So it's as good as having a dual layer punch board, but without the hassle and cost of a dual layer punch board. So they're again, I think I'm with you on that. Very, very well designed, and they come across really well. So
yeah,
I don't think there's anything particularly negative I would say about any of the components, other than one personal thing, which is I don't like tins.
Yeah.
On board games.
Yeah.
And the main reason is because tins get dented.
Yeah.
So that's just a personal thing that I don't like that, but it's thematic to the game.
Yeah.
As you've said, so therefore I can probably overlook that.
I'm actually going to say that I really like the lid and the fact that it's got this sculpted...
It's an embodied lid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been embossed. And it's got
right.
a really nice sort of finish on the artwork. It pops quite well. It
does.
It's quite striking.
Yeah,
you're quite right. It could have easily been a cardboard box as per normal. I just like how Fantasy Flight have done that little detail because, again, when you play the game, you search boxes for loot. And I think that's why they've kind of done that. Just a nice little touch in there. But
I mean,
quite right.
This is one of the things. I mean, as someone who doesn't know Fallout at all, I wouldn't know that.
No, of course
However,
not.
That is a nice little Easter egg for those that do like Fallout and will instantly recognise what that's about.
Yeah.
So that is a nice little nod, and I can look past it on those grounds because that's not there for me. That's actually there for the people that know what Fallout Shelter is or Fallout in general.
But it is a bit of a weird one where on your collection you've got all these cardboard boxes and there's a random tin there.
Yep. I mean, I think I have one game. It's not currently here. It's actually at the club at the moment. I have one game which is the Harry Potter miniatures game that came in a tin, and I absolutely detest it.
Really?
Because it's full of miniatures, resin miniatures, and a really rubbish box insert. So the miniatures move around, they hit the metal, and they snap. So, I mean, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
Whereas if it had been in a nice box with a nice insert, that wouldn't have happened. But yes. Anything else we want to talk about on the components before we move on to gameplay?
No.
I'm good.
No?
I'm good.
Let's talk about the gameplay then. So, back to you, Mr. Ant. What do you like about the gameplay in Fallout Shelter?
It's, again, worker placement is possibly my second favourite type of game. Pretty much why this is on there. Most worker placements require boards, placing people here and here, where this one is just simply just a set of cards. And that's what I love about it. And it's what we'll get into about building certain rooms, how you can just add the card to it. You know, you can't do that. Well, you could do it on top of a board, whatnot, but you require more space and stuff. The theme, again, because I've recently got into Fallout. Again, that's another reason why I like it. I don't know, there's more to it. There's the work conditions as well. There's one way, because we played it two different ways. Like, basically, you want it one way, and then the next time you play it, you want it a different way.
Yes.
So that's another reason why I kind of like that. There's more than just one way of winning this game as well.
Yeah.
Whereas most worker placements is like the first person to this, and it's over.
Yeah.
So that's probably another reason why I quite like this one as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it's got a nice progression to the game, hasn't it? Because obviously you have your standard board, air quotes, board, because it's all made up of playing cards, basically, all set out at the start. And then throughout the game, you're collecting your resources, and your resources are used to build new rooms on your personal level. And those rooms in themselves can do actions and gain you resources, which you kind of want to do because they're usually the more powerful ones. But also other people can use your rooms, but then they have to pay you for the privilege of doing it, which then enables you to buy more rooms quickly. And that's how the game is ended, isn't it?
Yeah, first person to 6 rooms or the threat decks out of depleted.
Yes. And both of those are entirely possible.
Yes.
Some
quicker than the other.
Yes, those threats can come out thick and fast. Which, well, I mean, let's talk about how the threats come out, because that is something I like. I know you weren't a particular fan of how quickly they came out sometimes, were you, James?
Only when they amassed on my floor.
And that's what I love about it, because there's the gamble of building, but then afterwards you've got the gamble of if a threat could go on there straight after that round ends as well.
Of course, yeah.
Which you'll explain right now.
Because obviously I think in the last game we played, I deliberately was not building at all.
No.
You guys were building, but as you were building, you were amassing all of these threats, and then right at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, I could see you closing in. I was like, right, build. And I was like, I just suddenly built all my thing out, which meant I didn't have to deal with any threats.
That's the thing. Me and
Throughout
James,
the majority of that
were
game.
building, and you were just getting more Vault Dwellers at the end of
But
the day. So
if I do remember correctly, that bit you in the backside at the end, though, because we were also amassing points for killing them.
this is true, yeah.
Yes, that is how I lost.
Yes.
In the last game, but I only just lost. That was the point.
It's always more fun, Jason, when I pip you at the last minute. 'Cause
It came down to the roll of a dice. That's how close it was. So there is dice in the game, which means there's luck.
Mm-hmm.
How do we like the luck in this game? Because worker placement games tend to not have all that much luck, but in this one, there is quite a bit of luck as to where those threats come out.
Most definitely, yeah. So yeah, like we said, after every round, we have to roll dice to map out where these threats will go on certain levels of the player. If it lands on that person, and that person can put a meeple on there, and he might need to get a 9+ to defeat this creature, which you could gain happiness. You'll always gain something out of it, something big. But like you said, there's the gamble of the dice. There are shop cards that could help you boost your dice roll or re-roll your dice roll. So yes, there is luck into it, but there's also a gamble of using those resources as well to possibly do that as well.
Yeah. But you're talking about having to roll dice in order to defeat these things. And a roll of 9, that's quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
By anybody's standards. But there are things in the game, James, of mitigating how much you have to roll, isn't there?
Yeah, weapon. The item deck. There are weapons and equipment that you can. I think you have to go out into the wasteland to scavenge them.
I think your favourite was the minigun, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I did love the minigun. I think that's how I won.
It was how you won, because that gave you an automatic +3.
It's 3, wasn't it? Yeah.
Which was, horrifically dirty. I was running around with a couple of pistols, which were only giving me a +1, which, again, is why I didn't really want to take on all that many threats.
And that's the thing with the threats is, if you defeat them, it's guaranteed happiness for your shelter. And that's the aim of the game, is to have the most happiness at the end, isn't it? So there's always that, again, I want to get the happiness more before anyone else does.
You kind of have the dual thing there, don't you? Because if you defeat them, you get happiness. But if you don't defeat them, you lose it.
You lose your dweller.
So it's not a case of, if it's still there, it's break even. It's like, no, you actually lose happiness. And obviously, if you try and fight a threat and fail, you injure your dweller, which means you're then sacrificing a turn
to heal it back up,
on the next round. So there's a lot of things at play. There is a lot of thinking to be done, as in most worker placement games, which is probably my main takeaway, in the sense of this is a excellent example of a, quite frankly, box standard worker placement game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like some where there's other mechanics all in there. This is a box standard worker placement game that could have, quite frankly, any theme on it, but it works.
Yeah, I do like the randomness of how the threats come out as well. That whole rolling the dice, and it's like, right, you go along a certain amount of spaces and a certain amount of floors down, depending on what the dice has given you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's always in the player's fate as well, isn't it? Because you, as a team, you sort of collectively roll to see where it is on the top track, which is what starts the game, and then it's up to you and your fate of rolling for your level and going, damn it, I rolled an 8, and that's the only one that I've got a room on, and now it's blocked that.
Yep.
Because that's the key thing, is by putting the threats down, it blocks your resources that you can get. So you kind of have to fight them, one, to fight off the minus points at the end, but also because you want to use that card to get your resources.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then there's the upgrade system for your dwellers. That's an entire different mechanic which is introduced into it.
It is, and I'm interested to talk to you about this one, because this is I have mixed feelings, shall we say, with regards to the upgrade system. So when we're talking about an upgrade system, on each room, for example, you can place any worker on a room and achieve its resources. However, certain rooms will have a letter. And if you have an upgraded worker that is that specific letter and you play it on that, you get double the rewards.
Yeah.
Okay, so to upgrade a worker, you have to use an action,
To go on a specific
to
space.
go on a
there's an arrow
specific
pointing
space,
up.
and then it upgrades that worker for one turn. So on the next round, you can then do that to get double the resources. This is where I don't want to say it's something I don't like, but it's something I'm really unsure as to whether it was really all that well thought through. Because if I'm spending an action to upgrade that worker, ready for the next round to get double the resources, why would I not just do that action that round and then in the next round and achieve the exact same reward? It's just use me, instead of me upgrading it.
But then you're wasting more actions to do that when you can just get it in one go.
It's exactly the same amount of actions, though. Because you're using an action to upgrade the worker, and then you're using that upgraded worker to get double the reward.
It's not even double in a lot of the cases. It's only one extra.
Well, it's double the reward, isn't it, of whatever's on there. So,
like, for example...
Like this one, for example, if you used it on there, your standard one gets you 3 food, whereas if you place an A on there, it'll get you 6 food.
Oh, I see what you mean. So instead of doing it in 2 turns, you just do it in 1.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. It's not just for that specific resource. You could use it to upgrade, to train your guys to attack a threat. So then that's double happiness as well. So that's another reason why you could do it. Plus, I think if I remember correctly, there's only 1 or maybe 2 spaces on the actual game where you can upgrade. So again, it's a race to. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but
it just seems like in most circumstances, it's I'm using 2 actions regardless.
Yeah,
I might as well just do it twice.
There's
the only reason is if you can.
Yeah,
because obviously
people can block.
Anyone can block you. So that would be the only reason.
Yeah, it could be a spot that someone else owns, so you have to pay them a resource twice as well to do that.
Yeah.
So. Again, like every worker placement, there's that gamble, isn't it?
Yeah, so exactly. So
you talking about the dead dwellers, there's only one spot to heal them.
Yes.
But if every one of the other players has a dead dweller, everyone's going to race for that spot first, aren't they? So you'll lose a turn regardless. Again, it's just, it's a gamble. Yeah. That's why I love worker placement gambles.
So it's like I said, it's not that I dislike this particular mechanic.
In all fairness, I didn't even spot that until you've actually just pointed it out. But I see where you're coming from.
The solution, and obviously, is to do what I do, which is build a nuclear reactor and then build a hospital right next to it.
That's it. Well, what was the other one you built? Water supply next to the electricity station.
Yeah.
Oh, no. The water treatment plant next to the nuclear reactor at the hospital, because that's not going to go terribly wrong at all, is it?
I mean, what I'm learning, Ant, is obviously we played Dice Hospital last night, and the most neglected hospital by far was indeed James. And now we're talking about survival in an apocalypse, and we're basically knowing that I am never getting in a shelter managed by James.
Hey, you'll come out with a healthy green glow and be better for it.
But you're my witness on this, James, right there. So one of the rooms that pops up in this game is a games room. Yes. How quickly did he try and build that room? Just because it was the games room?
Yeah, but if you're going to go for people's happiness, you go for the games room.
It's true.
They've got no power, water, or food, but hey, games.
But hey, you've got entertainment.
Indeed. The question is it sponsored by Geek & Son?
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's probably sponsored by Nuka-Cola.
But yes, there you go. So that's my, I guess, one negative, whatever you want to call it. Is there anything in the game that you're not a particular fan of, or you think could be better?
It bugs me to pay someone a resource to use their stuff.
Welcome to worker placement.
I know, but again, that's it.
That's called capitalism, man.
Yeah, it's true. Or people building my rooms before I can, maybe.
Well,
again, it's the same as every worker placement.
James, we touched on it a little bit earlier. How do you really feel about the luck factor? Do you think it's a bit too luck-based, or is
no? I mean, I do enjoy it for all the thing. It's just that it was just annoying that every threat was spawning on my level as like my lovely irradiated hellhole.
Yeah.
So, seems to be spawning these mutants. What? I couldn't work out why.
Why do they keep coming?
So I think one thing I would mention with regards to the luck would be, if you have really bad luck at rolling and everyone else doesn't, you're in for a rough ride.
You are.
In this game, because if you're rolling, when we're rolling to see if the threats are coming out on your board, if you're rolling unluckily, they're going to come on your thing. If you then try and attack them and you don't succeed, you're going to start losing your workers. And as Ant said, there's only one space
Yeah,
to heal workers.
One space to start with.
And it's, if you have come under the unlucky cloud for the day, you're going to have a rough time in this game.
Yeah.
Because there is very little way to mitigate luck.
I mean, I think my unluckiness when we played it was balanced in a way, because I was really unlucky for the rolls they kept spawning on my level, but I was getting some insane combat rolls when I actually went to fight them.
You were.
And I won on happiness. So my irradiated hellhole was not that bad because everyone was very happy to be there.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're that unlucky with dice rolling, you can always go to the item store and try and get some boosts for your rolls. Or re-rolls, chances for re-rolls even, maybe.
And again, it's another thing of there's an element of luck to what rooms come out when. Because obviously at the start of the game, there's only one essentially free space where you can gain an item to help you mitigate those things. At the
start, yes.
And if the other cards don't come out, you're fighting over that one space. Same with the healing and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's worker placement through and through, isn't it, really?
But I love that aspect of it building out to get what you want, to what you need.
Which, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because most worker placement games, like you said, will come with a board and everything's there. Straight away from the off. Whereas in this one, you are waiting.
Yeah,
it is a waiting game for certain ones.
I don't know. The one thing I could say about that, a negative, with it being card based rather than board based, is a lot of the worker placement games that I've played. The spaces on the card scale for how many players are playing.
Yeah.
So usually there's one, obviously, because you still have that element of rush.
Yeah.
That there'll be one less space than there are numbers of players to try and create a bit of, well, not everyone can get that on one turn.
Yeah.
Whereas on these, it's two spaces regardless if you're playing at 2 or 4.
Yeah. And one of them will usually cost you something in order to get the rewards. So, there's only ever one essentially free space.
Yeah.
So, I do agree with you on that, especially in that very first round when no one's got any upgrades.
Yeah, I mean...
6 cards?
Yeah, 6 cards
so
and only
6 free spaces.
Yes, yeah.
There are the 3 resources, power, food, and water. On that top level, the generic level, there's only 2 spaces for electricity, 2 spaces for water, and 2 spaces for food.
Yeah. I remember one thing because I kept making you laugh in the last game we were playing, because I never ever refer to it as water. It looks more like blood.
Yes, you do. Yeah. It's true, yeah.
Like when you look at the actual symbology on it, because there's no colour to it, it looks like a blood drop.
Yeah.
And, when you're thinking of a post-apocalyptic game, I'm thinking more of blood. So, especially in James's hellhole, where, it's just producing blood next to his nuclear factory.
It says water on the tank and no one bothers to check. Could be water, could be blood.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't question where the life-sustaining liquid comes from. We're just thankful that it's there.
Exactly.
So, guys, the ultimate question, when it comes to gameplay, what's your highlights of the game? What do you think is the standout feature? Especially for you, Ant, as you obviously saying this is one of your favourite games, worker placement of all time. What was that standout thing that put it in that top 5?
I think it's when I said it on my episodes when we talked about it. I think this is the most welcoming worker placement I've played. I've got a lot of people into worker placements because of this game, and my number one, which we'll probably talk about in another episode. Like, for example, you guys have never played a Fallout, so when I brought this around yours months ago, I saw your face and I'm like, Fallout? I'm not too sure. I know you still wanted to play it, but you were still willing to give it a go.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're talking about it on an episode now proves that you don't need to be a fan of this to love it.
100%.
Or to just like it, to play it. The fact that you guys still play it, the fact we're doing a review on it now, is just why I like this game so much.
Yeah.
Like, I can get anyone on this, and especially people that aren't fans of the franchise.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that. It hasn't made me want to go out and play Fallout.
No.
For whatever reason. I don't know about you, James. Has it made you think, I really want to try the game?
No.
No, but it wouldn't stop you playing it again if we said, let's dish it out.
100%.
For a quick go or something.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you feel the game has replayability to it?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It would have been nice for an expansion here and there, but again, it's because it's a separate game from the other ones. You probably could do it like a Fallout Shelter from New Vegas, for example, people know what I'm talking about if they know the series, or from Vault 111, for example. But then again, you're kind of just rinse repeating. It'll be very much like Zombicide. It's the same thing, just for different color cards or something, maybe. So it would be nice to maybe get an expansion, but it's pretty much fine on its own, really, to be honest.
I would definitely say, for me, the replay value is fairly minimal. I feel like after the 4 or 5 plays that we've had now, I think I've seen everything of the game, and I'm still enjoying it, and it's definitely one of those things of like, oh, what are we playing tonight? Okay, well, we'll play this, and then maybe we'll play Fallout Shelter afterwards. I'm there. I'm in. Count me in.
Absolutely, yeah.
However, if you were to say, oh, yeah, we're going to play Fallout Shelter this evening and I've got no other plans, then I might be sitting there going, don't know if I want to play that all evening. Thank you.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I do very much feel that this was a IP-based one-shot, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much you could have done with an expansion. I mean, unless there are new room cards. But
no, that's exactly what I said, yeah.
Other than that, it is, in my mind, it's a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
It's a fun little game as a warm-up or a cool-down, I think. I think I'm with you, Jason. It was like, now that we've played it 4 or 5 times, not sure if it was the main event I'd be all that interested.
No,
I think I've seen everything this game has to offer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to muster the motivation to sort of go, let's crack this out and let's play it multiple times.
It's definitely one you play. Like I say, you play a few times, leave it on the shelf for a year, and be like, "Oh, I'll come back to it." After that or something.
Yeah,
I definitely see where you're coming from. Yeah.
I like I said, I'm more than happy to play it. I will be, excited. To play it. Even once a month, I would probably still happily play this game, as long as I've got plenty of other games in between it.
Absolutely, yeah.
To sort of,
like I said, the first few games we took a while with it. Then I think by play 3 or 4, we were like, it's under an hour.
Yeah,
40 minutes. Wasn't it?
Well, I mean that is the next question, because it's listed as 60 to 90 minutes to play this game.
90 minutes
Now, before you even got here, I was still writing my notes when James arrived. And I immediately turned around to James, without telling him what it actually was listed as. Was like, how long did it take us to play these games? And I think James's answer was, 45 minutes?
45 minutes, like, when we were still learning it. I think the last one we played, we did that in, 25, 30 minutes?
25, 30 minutes.
I'd say 90 minutes for first-time worker placement players.
Right.
Just to get them into it and how worker placement goes, possibly 90 minutes for them. But then after that, it'll definitely decrease every time they would play.
Yeah. I mean, it's really rare to see a game that drastically overestimates the time that it takes to play. Normally, you'll see it on the board, like, this takes an hour to play. You know it's not. It's going to be an hour and a half.
Either the win condition's too quick to say 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got someone who's determined to end the game really quickly, it's doable.
They'll do it in 25 minutes, like James said, in 25 minutes.
Because it is literally a case of grab your resources, buy the room, grab a resource, buy the room, grab the resources, buy the room. And you've only got to do it 6 times. You know what I mean? It's all right. You're not going to gain all the resources you need in one turn.
Well, it's just the luck element. I think it was, although I didn't win that game, the second one we played, when I got the nuclear reactor and the water treatment plant again really early,
and the minigun.
That was the third game.
The third game.
But they both came out like really early.
Yeah.
So 2 of my resources, that's it. I'm like,
you were just churning.
4
something
4
like
or 5
that.
with those. It's like, right, okay, I'm just going to start knocking rooms out now.
Yeah. So obviously there are ways to speed up the gameplay. I personally quite like the idea of just going ham and getting more workers, because you start with 3.
Start with 2.
Start with 2, and then you can obviously gain more workers throughout the game. I like to get all 7 and then start going.
And again, that's how differently you played it. So first time you were building, second time you were gaining dwellers. So there's a strategy to it every time you play it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a good few strategies to winning the game and playing the game. So there is an element of replayability there, I think, as long as you're willing to try different avenues of play. But let's talk about the price of the game.
Yeah.
we've talked about the replayability. Do you think it has a good value to the game at £30, which is what it £32.97 is what this game can be purchased for at the moment?
Yeah, if not a little cheaper, like I got it for. Like I said, the details of the dwellers themselves, I think, speaks out for the price alone. I mean, like if you look at Unmatched, how cheap that is, and the minis for that are fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, James said with the double based player boards as well. Your see-through cards or not. I think it's bang for your buck, really. Are you paying a little bit more just for the tin itself? Possibly. If it was maybe a cardboard box, you probably might get it to 25, if that.
Yeah.
But again, big fans of it. I don't see an issue with the price personally. For Fallout fans.
Yeah. What about you, James? You're usually quite opinionated on price.
I am, but I'm actually going to side with Ant on this one. I would say for a game of this size and the amount of components in it, you're paying for the IP.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think there is enough production in this game to actually warrant that price.
Well, there we go. It's a rare occasion here.
Oh, normally I'm sort of like, nah, the RRP is not justified.
I said, the tin is probably the heavy hitter out of all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the game, you're paying more because it's in a tin. You're paying more because it's an IP. This is probably 20 quid's worth of un-IP'd game here, without all those extra bits.
I think this is one that really is almost a homage to the fans of Fallout, where they've actually put some effort into it.
Yeah.
Normally, my biggest gripe with IP-based games is just like they're a cash grab. They've slapped the IP on this and not really, like, what's the classic one we did was Orlog.
Orlog, yeah.
Yeah, like there is a classic example of a game that we just slap this IP on it and there you go, and overcharge massively for it. I think they've actually put some effort into this. And it does justify the price.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely surprised that this game is as cheap as it is.
Yeah.
I was expecting, when I looked, to be looking towards the £40 mark, just because of it being IP.
Yeah.
The fact that it's 30, I think, is very good. I still think it's a tad overpriced, but I'm talking a couple of pounds overpriced. I would happily pay 25 to 30 quid for this game. It is ultimately just a worker placement game. If you're into worker placement games, you'll definitely like it. If you're into Fallout, you'll definitely like the game. Is it worth it? If you can get it at the right price, I think so, yeah. I think what you paid for it, I think is definitely worth it. 30 quid, I definitely think it's worth it.
Not
as I
higher
said,
than that, though.
You're looking at $32.97 on Amazon. Amazon do regular sales. Just pop it in your watch list and then just wait for it to come down.
Yeah.
And, you probably wait a month, maybe, for it to come down in price, because they fluctuate all the time. But other than that, I think it's definitely worth it. Pretty good value game. And, I think don't play it all the time. That would be my one.
I don't. I go month in, month out without playing it. Like last time before I played it with you guys, I think it was a good 2-3 months that I played it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So I think this is going to be a very silly question, but collection status, we have to talk about it. Ant, is this a collection keeper for you? Do you ever see it leaving the collection?
No. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a fan of the Fallout franchise. I'm saying it for the fact that I'm getting gamers into worker placement games with this game, which I mentioned earlier. It's probably the reason why I keep it. And again, like I just said to you just now, like we've played it now. It's going to sit on the shelf for a good 3-6 months to to play it again. So it'll pop back on and it's going back to memory lane. I would keep in mind just for that reason.
That's good. My collection status, obviously, this is not my game.
No.
I'm usually sitting here trying to decide whether it's going on my for sale pile or not. It's not going to be a game I'm going to buy, but that's not because I don't like it.
No.
It's because I know you've got it.
Exactly, yeah.
If you didn't have it, or if you decided to get rid of it, I would potentially consider buying it because, as you said, as a game to introduce people to worker placement, it's actually pretty good because of the fact that it is just worker placement.
Yeah.
In its rawest form. I haven't got to then teach 2 different mechanics or 3 different mechanics. I'm teaching 1. The theme really doesn't matter. I'm not fussed about the theme. I like the artwork, I will say that.
Yeah.
As James mentioned earlier, the Fallout stuff is very iconic and everyone knows it, really, when you see it. So The question now, before we close out, is fans of Fallout Shelter, the digital game, do you think this is something that could be a nice gateway into introducing how good board games can be?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, would you reckon a lot of people would give it a go?
Yeah,
if they were a fan.
The game itself is very much like your normal mobile games where you have to wait a day to upgrade them and stuff like that. Whereas in this one, you can just put them on the spot and do it, whatnot.
Yeah.
So the game itself is very time consuming, whereas this is a quick, like you said, 30, 25 minutes, whatnot. But I can see fans loving it just as much because, like you said, there's so many nods and to the game itself. But I can see fans quite enjoying this, to be honest.
Nice. Very, very good. James, any closing comments on Fallout Shelter, the board game?
Only that if you get the opportunity, if you've never played it before and you get the opportunity to play it, definitely give it a go.
Yeah. It values your time.
Yeah.
Which is definitely something I think we can all agree on.
But I just want to say thank you guys for taking the gamble and trying it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because and again, I knew you didn't know the IP as well, but just the fact you gave it a go says it all. And thank you. Thank you.
You had me at worker placement.
Oh, okay.
I do enjoy worker placement games.
Same as man. Yeah. Really do enjoy them.
And I on that, it's a very good example of it. That's the key thing to take away from this. I think it's better than it has any right to be. That's my biggest surprise here. It's a lot better than it should be. So that's.
I was, example. But again, I don't know if I'm slightly jaded by that bad experience from IP-based games, that negative experience where a lot of developers have put just slapped the IP on a half-baked idea and gone, well, the IP will sell it.
Yeah, and that's another thing to talk about, I guess, really, is it's nice to see an IP-based game that isn't total pig swill.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be a family-friendly show sometimes.
This is it.
But yeah, you get what I'm saying.
That's a topical discussion all on its own, isn't it? The fact that they regularly abuse the IP.
There you go. You've got an idea for a topical episode.
Yeah. It's nice when James comes up with these ideas.
Add it to the list, because I know you've got one.
The co-host comes in handy.
It does. It does. But that is Fallout Shelter, the board game. Have any of you guys played this game? What are your thoughts on it? Let us know on all of our social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord. Links to those are all in the podcast description. Short of that, Anthony, thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you guys. Thank you for having, like I said, thank you for playing the game. Thank you for having me back on for the episode.
It's
good to be back.
Always a pleasure. Would you like to promote your own show?
Do I get to do my radio voice?
You do. So cue your radio voice and tell these lovely people where they can find you.
I knew you'd put me on the spot. Well, hi guys, my name is Antman and I host the M.T.V.B Podcast, a podcast where it talks about my 4 favourite subjects. That's movies, TV shows, video games, and board games. At the time of recording this episode, we recently released the episode, like Jason said earlier, about our top 5 worker placement games. If you're interested to know what Jason's top 5 is, then please give us a listen. We are on everywhere, which is iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Just simply type in M.T.V.B and every listen will be a great support from you all. Thank you.
Excellent. See how professional that was.
I did. I will definitely be giving that episode a listen, mainly just so I can go, Jason, you're wrong.
Do you know what? You should have been there for the worker placement episode. Every time I've done the countdown for number 1, he's there in the background going, number 1, number 2. He was living it, mate.
Oh, I love it. I do love coming on and doing me some top 5 episodes, which we really do need to start doing some top 5s over here as well, because I think, James, you've been well immersed into the board game hobby now.
I think we could, but I know you're going to throw up a really difficult one when you decide to do it, and I'm going to be like, I'm actually going to have to think about this.
Not more work.
But
honestly, turning up's hard enough.
That's it. But Dunn and Jenix will be in every one of his top 5. So
I didn't put it in the worker placement.
Oh, spoilers, Jason! Spoilers.
I mentioned it.
He's mentioned it. Yeah.
The one episode where it should have been in it, because it is a worker placement game, I made sure that it wasn't.
Oh yeah, but that's inconsistent, mate. Now everyone's going to go, huh?
Exactly. But we all know how much I love my Dynagenics. It goes without saying, doesn't it, really? But that is the running gag, isn't it? As I have to get Dynagenics into every list.
This is it.
Best card game, Dynagenics. Best game that isn't a game, Dynagenics. Best movie, Dynagenics.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that movie.
Best rip-off other movie.
Well, actually, that would be, I don't know, something obscure. Acropolis. There you go.
Okay.
But yes, thank you very much for coming again, Anthony.
No, thank you, guys.
A pleasure. I think there's 3 of us round the table, James. There's 3 of us around the table, and there is a game on the table. Are we likely to play a little bit of Fallout Shelter? That's the question.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think we are. We don't care what James says.
One quick game for the road.
He's signalling that he can't do it, but
and we can put it back on the shelf for 6 months.
Exactly. Just think, James, it's like a relative going away forever or 6 months.
Sorry, James, you'll see it in November. It's all good.
Exactly. What is it? Oh my God, are we that close to November already? It's going to be Christmas before you know it, and we're going to be doing a Christmas. Best games to buy at Christmas. Ooh. How about that? Oh no, that's what we usually do.
That's a top 5. No, I did that last year.
Yeah,
you guys can do it this year.
Oh, okay, fair enough. There we go.
Mine was top 5 games to play at Christmas, not to buy at Christmas.
Well, that's easy. Just anything that isn't Christmas themed.
Dynagenics will still be top of his list.
I'm sure it'll be on his 5th Kickstarter by then or something, won't it?
They will have had the new Kickstarter by then. I'm looking forward to that. But I best get this turned off because otherwise I'm going to start talking about Dynagenics. Yeah, we're going to start rambling. So, till next week, I have been Jason.
I've been James.
And I've been Ant.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded Podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.